Good afternoon, grade 4s. I see it is 1 o'clock now. So I hope you are all ready to start our lesson today. Please remember, as I asked, to keep your cameras off and to please use the chat group for answers and questions only. All right. It'll just make our lesson go a lot smoother. So I hope you are all ready. Because remember, I told you yesterday, we're going to do a little bit of writing. So those of you who were with me yesterday, you remember we did a story about Jenny's puppy. But if you weren't with me yesterday and you just joined us and you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go have a look back on YouTube on the Africa Teen Geek channel, and you can catch up on our lesson from yesterday. So as I said, we read through the story called Jenny's Puppy. We learned an important lesson from the story. So remember, we learned, again, not to lie and to always tell the truth. It had lots of characters in this story. So it wasn't just Jenny and her puppy. It was Jenny, her puppy, her friends, her mom, and her dad. So there were lots of people. And then we even answered quite a few questions together, and you guys did an awesome job yesterday. So for today, I hope you are ready to be very busy because we are going to do some writing. So I hope you've got a pencil and a piece of paper, because while we are doing this lesson, you can actually start your planning. So it'll give you a lot less homework to do. So if you don't have a pencil and a piece of paper, quickly grab one now before we get started, because I do want you to start with your planning while we discuss it, so it's fresh in your mind. So you'll see we are going to have a look at the structure of a story. So we know that a story needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So it's split into 3 sections. We are going to use the writing process. So remember, that is planning your work, writing a rough draft, and then writing your neat copy. And then for your homework today, you are going to write your own story for me. So now you can become super creative and think of something really cool. But I will give you the topic that we have to stick to today. So a story needs to have a structure so that it makes sense. And each paragraph is normally written according to one structure. So your beginning can be a paragraph, your middle is a paragraph, and the end is a paragraph. So we say it makes a structure because we can't start a story in the middle of a story. So we always have to have a beginning because we need to introduce the story to our readers. So let's have a look. So in our beginning, as I said, it introduces the story to us. So this is where we introduce who the characters are and where the story will happen. So this is now setting our plot. Then we get into the middle bit. So the middle gives us more information about our story. So maybe our characters now go on a journey, they have a problem, and now they need to solve it. So your middle will have a lot of information and a lot of details. Then we've got our ending. So our characters at the end of our story will have solved their problem. So maybe they made some plans, they worked through the plans, and they solved the problem. So those are the three structures we need to have when we write a story. So remember, each part will be a paragraph. If you are struggling to hear me, please make sure your sound is up because I am speaking quite loud. Trust me, I'm not whispering. So if we look at Jenny's puppy story from yesterday, so we can divide that into three sections. So in the beginning of her story, Jenny introduced her puppy to her friends. So that is where she's now telling her friends about her supposedly dog. But remember, she didn't actually have the puppy. She was just making it up. But this is giving us an introduction to who Jenny was, who her friends are. So it's kind of setting the scene for us. Then in the middle, we have where the problem starts to unfold. So now Jenny keeps making up excuses. She tells her friends they can't come, they're going out. So she's creating the problem. And now she needs to start thinking of how to solve it. So towards the end of the story, she decides to go ask Dad to buy her puppy. And what does Dad do? He actually surprises her with a puppy. Her friends then come to her house and they actually discover that she's got Doggy. And then it ends off very nicely where Jenny and her friends play with Doggy. So your story can have a happy ending. Nothing wrong with that. So what we are going to do is we are going to write a story about two children and two animals. So you can decide on any two animals that you want in the story. So they can be tame, they can be wild. It's totally up to you. So remember, be creative. This is your story. You can base it on a true story or an untrue story. So maybe you want to talk about you and your brother and your pets at home. That's cool. But if you want to be super creative, maybe you're going to talk about you and a friend who go on an adventure in the African jungle and you ride on an elephant and you get chased by monkeys. I don't know. You guys have the freedom to decide what characters you want. So remember, I don't mind if you type your story or you write it out for me. But remember, you must have 3 paragraphs. So you must have a beginning. So introduce your story to me. In your middle, give me lots of details. And at the end, tell me how your people solve their problem and how your story ends. So they can be, remember, untrue. So you can have mythical creatures, like if you want unicorns in there, or I don't know what else is mythical, dragons. It's up to you guys. I'm giving you total freedom, okay? So true or untrue, you can decide. So let's quickly look at our 3 parts of your story. So we understand what we need for each section. Oh yes, sorry, before I get to that. Here's just some pictures that you can maybe use to help you give some ideas if you really don't know. So you'll see on the top left, we've got a boy and a girl, a horse and a dog. We've got on the top right, a boy and a girl with a bunny and a sheep. And then we've got 2 girls with 2 puppies. And then we've got a boy and a girl with an elephant and a camel. So you see, you can have two totally different animals, or you can have the same. It's really up to you guys. But I think the more interesting you make it, like maybe using different animals, the more exciting your story will be. So you can make it fiction or in our country? Is it going to be in a totally different country? So you must decide where your story will happen. So that's the setting. So I hope you're writing these ideas down, hey? So I don't want you to, at the end of this lesson, have no idea. Cool, I'm seeing some nice ideas for your settings. Good, guys. Remember, the more interesting you make this, the more fun it's going to be for me to read it. So remember, we're only talking about 2 people and 2 animals. Maybe they can ride cars to get to the places they need to get to, or anywhere. It's up to you. But the main people are the 2 children and 2 animals. Then your next question is your plot. So what is going to happen in your story? So this is where you need to think, how is your story going to start? How is it going to carry on in the middle? And how are you going to end it? So this one requires quite a bit of information now, because you need to actually decide what you're going to base your story about. Because remember now, also in your story, you're going to have a problem. So there's going to be an issue that your characters are going to have. So maybe they lost something, or something got stolen from them, or they need to find a magical key. So you need to decide on a problem that is going to come up for your characters. And then once you've got a problem, now we need to figure out how you're going to solve it. So can you see there's quite a lot of questions you have to ask? So we've got your characters, who are they? Your setting, where is it going to be based? You've got your plot, so what's going to happen in your story? So think of how you're going to start it, how you're going to continue it, and how you're going to end it. Think of a problem that they're going to come across. Remember, it can be a small problem, it can be a big problem. And then for your solution, maybe their first plan doesn't work. So now they have to think of another plan. So you can have a few solutions, and then right at the end, they can finally solve it. So this is the mind map I would like you to jot down now for your planning. Please make sure your cameras are off. I see someone's on. Thank you. So while you are busy thinking now, yes, you have to do a mind map, because remember, this is part of your planning. So the very first thing I want you to think of is a title for your story. So give your story a name. So now that you've thought about your characters, your plot, your setting, your problem, your solution, give it an exciting name. Remember, title is short and sweet. Yes, I would love you to do my story. because Mam's got nothing to read at home. She's very bored and she needs some exciting stories in her life. So quickly, give your story a title. Remember, it can be anything, but it must relate to your story. So you can't talk about the big blue whale and your story is all about camels. So then once you've got a name for your story, this is where I want you to start thinking of your first paragraph. So you need to answer these questions now. You need to tell me, who are your characters? So did you decide to use a boy or girl, or just boys or just girls? So tell me, you can even write their names down. Then you need to tell me what your characters are going to do. So this is where we start to introduce the plot. I'm going to just give you a few seconds to jot down your ideas. Because I think sometimes I just get too excited and I just go fast. Sorry, guys. So I'll explain to you soon how many paragraphs, how many sentences you need in your paragraphs. Remember, it's 3 paragraphs, and I'll tell you how many sentences soon. Okay, so remember the beginning, you're introducing your story to us. So don't give too much information away yet. We're just introducing our characters and what they're going to do. Now, when we look at our next paragraph, so our middle paragraph, this is where we're going to put all the details in. So now you're going to tell me what the characters are doing, what problem happens, and how they plan to solve the problem. So I hope you thought of a problem that your characters are going to come across and they start thinking of a plan to get out of it. So this is for your second paragraph. And remember, between each paragraph, we leave a line. But we'll look at the layout just now. So quickly jot down your ideas. I see you guys are already having such amazing ideas. So remember, when you write your story, you don't actually have to label your paragraphs for me. So I'll be able to see from the way you've spaced it out, where's your beginning, your middle, and your end. So you don't have to say paragraph 1. Billy and Jamie go on an adventure to find the mystical flying dog. Okay, so don't have to label it. Just start your story off. I'll see the way you space it out, what your paragraphs are. Okay, and then for our third paragraph, this is our end paragraph now. So now this is where you're going to tell us how they solve the problem and maybe how your story ends. So does it have a happy ending? Does it maybe end in a way that it could still continue into another story? So it's up to you. So remember, I said your characters can have more than one plan. They don't have to just go with the first plan. Remember, with our mind maps, we just jot down a few keywords. We don't have to write the whole sentence out now, okay? That's for homework. So with your mind map, just make sure you're writing a few words just to give you an idea. Otherwise, this planning is going to take you forever. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 more minute, and then we can hopefully move on. So I'm glad you guys are very excited to write your stories, and I'm very excited to read them because you guys have got such an amazing imagination. So at the end of this slide, you should have a very basic mind map. So it can look similar to mine. You can use different shapes if you want. I really don't mind. As long as you've answered the questions with few words, because for your actual homework, you're going to use those words in sentences. So don't waste your time now by writing your sentences. That's for later. Okay, I'm going to give you a few more seconds. And then I'm going to go to the next slide. So I hope you're ready. Oh, that's a very nice question. So yes, I think if you want to make it a PowerPoint presentation, that will be really cool. So if you know how to work PowerPoint, which is what I'm actually using now, you can make your story on that. That's awesome. So then you can include pictures and animations. That'll be really cool. I'm sure I'll be very entertained. But if you want to just use Microsoft Word, that's fine. So I will try and make sure the instructions for your homework today will be on the website. Remember, on Africa Teen Geeks. So in case you missed anything, the instructions will be up on the website. Okay, can we move on now? Because we've been here for quite a while and I'm scared we run out of time. Okay, so when you are writing each paragraph, I want each paragraph to have at least 3 sentences. So that's the least you're allowed to have. You can have more, but please don't make it more than 5 or 6 sentences, because then that's going to be a very long story and I might fall asleep. Because remember, I'm old. So I want you to use at least 3 sentences for each paragraph. So that means you should have 9 sentences in total It's really not a lot if you think about it. I'm sure you guys write a lot more than that in class. But if you want to write more than 3 sentences, you are more than welcome. Shows me that you are more excited to work. So you won't be submitting your homework on my Flipgrid, because remember, this is writing work. Flipgrid is to record performances or reading. So you'll have to email it to me, okay? So when we are writing, please remember to use language in your story. So we've done different language skills. So we've learned about adverbs. Remember, adverbs describe a verb. So try and use that in your story. So if you've got verbs, describe the verbs. Tell me how did they do it, or when did they do it, or where are they doing it? Because this adds more interest into your story. And the next one I want you to try and use are adjectives. So remember, an adjective describes a noun. So when you are talking about your characters to me, try and describe them. Remember, Jenny described her dog to her friend, saying that he was black and he ate bananas and he was afraid of crowds. So she used adjectives because it helped us to picture him. So when you use these things, they make your story more interesting. So don't forget. So if you do use adverbs and adjectives, your story will be a lot more entertaining. So let's quickly have a look at your layout. So this is how you're going to write your final neat copy. So whenever we write a story, we always put the title right at the top. And remember, our title, we can make it big and bold because we want it to stand out, because it's the name of our story. It's the thing that it's going to catch your reader's eye. Then after my title, what are those red crosses for? Who can remember? I'm sure your teachers use these crosses as well on the board. So we normally put these on the board to remind you to skip. Thank you. Skip a line. So we just skip one line because we don't want to waste space. So after your title, you skip a line and then you start with your beginning. So this will be your first paragraph. So remember, the least amount of sentences is 3. You can add more, but remember, with your beginning, you are introducing your characters. So you don't want to write too much and give too much information away, because then your reader might not carry on reading. So give them a taste of your story. Then once we've done our beginning, again, we're going to skip some lines because we're now forming our paragraphs. Then we're going to do your middle, your paragraph 2. So again, you only need 3 sentences, but if you want to do more, you can do at least 5 or 6. Because this is the juiciest part of your story. This is where all your information is going to be. Where their journey takes them, what they do, what the problem is. So make your middle the most exciting part. Then once you're done with the middle, again, you're going to skip another line. And then we're going to move on to our end. So tell me here how your characters solved the problem and how you want to end your story. So this one, again, doesn't have to be a long paragraph because we are ending our story off. Then when you're done with your whole story, if you would like to, you can draw a picture of your story. So maybe draw a scene from your story where your characters go on their adventure. Or you can draw your characters separately for me. But if you don't want to draw a picture, that's fine. I don't mind. The picture is just an added bonus for me. So it helps me to see what your story is all about. So remember, you are allowed to type it or write it. Then I would love for you to share it with me. Like I said yesterday, I have had a few kiddies share their homework with me on my email. And it's awesome because then I can check it straight away. So all you have to do, if you write it, take a picture of your story and send it to me on my email. If you type it, you can just attach it. So I don't really have due dates for my writing work because it is a lot of work, but I would like it before next week, because then it gives me some time to read and go through all your stories. So remember, if you type it, you're going to do it on your laptop. You can choose PowerPoint, you can do Microsoft Word. Then you're going to have to email it to me. So it's just the instructions that you'll find on the Africa Teen Geeks website. Then for our lesson tomorrow, I thought we should do a little bit of language revision. So you have done these things before, but I thought it's just nice to do it again to refresh our brains. So we're going to look at adjectives, and we're going to have a look at the K and S sound words, because we know that words have got a spelling rule, and we're going to look at those rules tomorrow. So I hope you guys are excited to submit your stories. Please make sure your parents have joined our mailing list so they get our links every day, so you guys don't miss out on any lessons. And remember, if you do miss out on any lessons, they always go onto YouTube. So there's no excuse why you've ever missed a lesson. So I hope you enjoyed our lesson today. Thank you so much for your participation. I will see you back here again tomorrow. So please work nice and hard. Bye, guys.